Yo, what it do? Chat world. It's your boy Big Chico. Welcome back to the Big Chico Show, man. You know what we on right now. We are still in the vibe of this Diddy shit that's going on, man. Um, I just been kind of tuned into a lot of it. And it's sad, man. It's sad, to see such a huge mogul go down like this, whether he's right or wrong. I mean, there's some wrong being done here. But either or, a man is innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. But yeah, man, this is crazy, man. I mean, make sure y'all hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share. We back in doing this thing every day. We on it, man. This is crazy, man. This is wild crazy. And everybody got stories about Diddy. And it's like my whole timeline is Diddy. Did y'all see the picture with Dame Dash, Aaliyah, Jennifer Lopez, Di- Diddy party? Major crazy shit, bro. This is major crazy shit. Oh man. But yeah, so I was watching a
Just like
Gene Deal,
entrepreneurs out there.
Gene Deal interview where he just basically was saying he feel as though his Diddy is gonna just kill himself. Like he's just like, yo,
He ain't gonna
hold
stand
on, let me see
here.
if it pops up. Pardon me. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Shout out whoever's in the live, man. I appreciate y'all. For some reason, when I go live on my desktop, it's not like on my phone. And I was watching one of these Diddy
Your
like
life right
50.
now.
Nah, this is what we do. I was watching this not too long ago, and I'm being petty, low key. Like, yo, look at the niggas in here, though. Who in here, son?
What am I doing wrong?
Who is
I'm
in
putting
here?
my
B?
blood, sweat, and tears into the.
I was being petty for a second. Who in this bitch? Charles, what up? Who you got, Dr. Dre?
Happy birthday to me!
Yo, look at this, bro. This is crazy. I want to know. I want to see the same support at this 50th birthday party. I want to see the same support when Diddy is in court. What up, bro? You know the vibes. We live. The Diddy Files. It's wild.
The best thing you ever been to, guaranteed.
Look, and yo, if you look at it like how I look at it, it's like damn. Damn. Look at what he got going on. Like he got all the greats at his birthday party, the 50th, 4 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Look, on the top of his game.
Glasses up in the air. Let's take a toast to Sean Combs, Puff Daddy, Kim Porter.
Let's go, everybody take a shot.
I've been hearing some crazy stories coming out about him now that he's in the tomb in the Bronx. Yo. Wild stories, man. I mean, it's only gonna get more interesting, man. It's only gonna get more interesting because you got to think about the years Diddy's been running the rap game and been in entertainment, showing his ass, showing off, doing his thing in a good sense. Of course, he's played his part in the community as well, and has done for the community as well. But most importantly, he's been in the game for years, decades. He has decades in the entertainment industry. He's a great marketer. So he's been doing this since, I mean, the 90s. So you got to think all the years of stories, even if some of them is over exaggerated and capped, people are going to be coming out with some shit to say. You feel what I'm saying? Like, no matter what it may sound like to one, no matter what it may sound like, it's going to be stories coming out. You're like, what? Like, yo, I heard a story about when he was in college, and I'm like, come on now. Come on, son. He's been getting his pick on. But at the same time, he did great things too, though. Yeah, that's the crazy part. So, you look at videos like this, his 50th birthday party. You see all these people there. He's partying. This is the brother love era. Remember, he came out. It's love. It's love. This is that. He look at him on his game on the top. Look, they slow mode that. Hold on. They slow mode that, bro. Hold on, I'm tripping. Look at this, bro. Snoop in the building getting lit. Look, he at the height. Look at Kevin Hart. Look at this, bro. He's enjoying, like everybody got their phone on him. He's looking lit. It's 50th. Everybody in the building fucking with him. And now, look at him. Yo. Wow. It's crazy how you go on top. Like, that's crazy. You got behind
With
the scenes.
HoneyBook, you can make sure your marketing business is as polished and professional as you really are. Here's how. I'm Millie, a content creator coach and business owner. If I had to start my business from zero.
That'd be crazy. Snoop Dogg doing anything is working.
Happy birthday, Puff. Celebrating 50 years of excellence. Yeah.
Just look. Look at this. If it was lit. I can see Kevin Hart too, but please, not Snoop. Nah, Snoop ain't. Snoop too thorough. He too thorough. He ain't doing nothing like that. He ain't doing nothing like that. Look, he out there with. Look at yo, son. He was on his A game. Like it was.
Why am I building this office if it's never going to be there?
I think it's going to get built so that they will come, right?
Let's see.
Damn, son. And you see this, right? When you see this.
That's a moment. This is a moment.
It's like, damn, like you feel bad for the nigga because it's like, look who he, like, you know what I'm saying? Right, hip hop royalty. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop royalty. He's going down bad, bro. And it's sad because it's like, yo, man, look at all the shit he did for us, like in the community. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he actually made a difference for people's lives and kids, and like he had schools and all types of shit. Now it's like you type in Diddy update, you trying to get it's the next what all this is all you see when you type his name up.
Off the top, Sean Combs, aka
Look at this. Now look at where we at.
Easy to digitize documents or build new digital forms from scratch.
Off the top, Sean Combs, aka Diddy, in prison, denied bail, facing federal sex trafficking charges. On Tuesday, prosecutors in the Southern District of New York unsealed an indictment accusing Combs of sex trafficking for over a decade, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice.
Awesome.
Prosecutors cite video evidence of Combs assaulting a woman at a hotel in 2016. That lines up with the publicly reported tape of Combs kicking and dragging his then-girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura, at a Los Angeles hotel. And that tape is part of the reason why a judge took the extraordinary step of denying bail.
The law says that when a person's facing the charges Sean Combs is facing, the presumption is that he gets locked up pending trial. So the field is automatically tilted in the prosecution's favor. He is looking at a minimum of 15 years behind bars if he's convicted. The prosecutors argued that. And finally, prosecutors argued intensely that Sean Combs is engaged in constant obstruction of justice, intimidating witnesses, bribing witnesses, and that usually strikes a chord with judges when they're considering bail.
Combs put up a $50 million bond, agreed to surrender his passport and take weekly drug tests, all in an attempt to get out on bail. That was denied, in part because the magistrate judge was concerned about witness tampering and obstruction of justice. Combs appealed that decision. He was denied once again, and now his lawyers vow a second appeal. The indictment details some of what investigators found when they raided his home last March, including narcotics and...
Now, I'm looking at this because it's like, yo, this is what the cases actually have. This is how it's actually happening. So I always look at these news outlets, the white ones. they gonna tell you what's on the indictment. Okay, this is how you get your information. But also reading, I was reading some of the indictment yesterday, and when you actually read it, it is wicked. Yeah, it's like too wicked, bro.
1,000 bottles of baby oil. Prosecutors say the drugs and oil were used as part of an elaborate and produced sex performance where drugs were used to subdue the victims. Combs faces up to life in prison. And the 58-year-old man who planned an apparent assassination attempt against...
What's this one?
You know, a lot of investors right now are sitting on the sidelines thinking they're doing quite...
Joining me now, Brian Claypool, a criminal defense attorney. So, Brian, what Matt was just talking about, these so-called freak-offs, these were no secret. So he'd been openly bragging about these wild parties. You know, there's like sex parties, and it looks like, you know, there were probably lots of other things going on there, too. But he was bragging about this for, what, a couple of decades. Watch.
This is what you need to do.
I knew they was going to put
women
this out there.
Beautiful women. We need alcohols.
Right.
Alcohols.
Right. Not just one alcohol.
Alcohols.
Right. Just
Plural.
different blends.
Yeah, right.
You need the
Right.
ladies, you need the booze. Right.
Got to keep them there.
Right.
You need locks on the doors.
Yeah,
Okay, this is sounding kind of dangerous now.
It's a little kinky, but
yeah.
Brian, that was creepy, but what took the Fed so long to do something?
Hey, Laura, always great to be with you. Yeah, I think it's I'm in LA. It's the Hollywood celebrity path to justice, where we simply look at a clip like that and we laugh and giggle about, oh, let's get alcohol, let's get drugs, let's get all these ladies at a party.
He never said drugs.
P. Diddy's gotten a whole pass. Yeah. He's actually created his own kingdom where he makes his own rules, and you got to follow his rules or you get penalized. And guess what, Laura? He's now in a federal penitentiary, and for the first time in his life, he's facing his own fate at the hands of somebody else. And I will tell you, Laura, I've done federal cases that's not the place you want to be in federal court. 90% of federal criminal
don't look like Diddy. Wait, hold on.
Down are...
Nigga, that's not Diddy. That's not. Who the fuck is that? Who the fuck is that? Who the fuck is that, bro? That's not Diddy, dog. That's not Diddy. Hell no, that ain't fucking Diddy, dog. Who the fuck is that? Who in there drawing? They high. The fuck?
Pled out, right? A plea deal is brought. That? And of the only...
Come on, son. Look at that nigga. Don't look like that. Who the fuck is that, bro? Who is that? That ain't fucking Diddy, bro. You can't convince me that's some fucking Diddy, dog. It's not.
10% left. 90% of those defendants that go to trial, they lose. So he is looking at a daunting uphill battle to fight these horrible charges.
Now, Brian, one of the DHS agents involved in this raid on his Miami mansion described what he saw inside the house, saying that In my opinion, he's as bad as Epstein. These women are young, either barely legal or barely illegal. Brian, this sounds like he was a monster.
Yeah, Laura, I will tell you that this indictment was very detailed, by the way, too. Your viewers should know there were over 300 subpoenas served, over 50 witnesses interviewed. Why is that important? Because the federal prosecutors aren't going to be leveling an indictment like this unless they have ammunition and they have cause to bring it. And the core issue at this case, which the feds have to prove, which it's looking like they can, is that P. Diddy essentially controlled these women, that he threatened them with stopping the money that he was paying them, that he spiked their drinks with drugs. That's been alleged in the indictment. And that he basically told them, I'm going to ruin your life unless you engage in these freak-offs. And that's really what the prosecutors got to prove. And if you've got some victims coming forward to talk about that, you've got financial records that prove that, travel itinerary that proves that, P. Diddy has very little defense. And I got to tell you, Laura, if this guy wants to fight these charges, he's going to have to step up and walk into a courtroom and talk about it. If he doesn't testify in this case, he is dead on arrival.
Well, who else is on these tapes? I mean, will the tapes ever see the light of day? I mean, that's what everybody's talking about. Who else is there? It's like with the Epstein, his pleasure island. Who else? Who went? Who was there? What's the manifest? But Brian, chances 1 being least likely, 10 being most likely. Will we learn of other celebrities that were at these freak-offs?
I think you've got an 8 or a 9 for a likelihood you're going to hear about it. Why? Because there are going to be more indictments coming down, Laura. That's an important point here, because he's being charged with racketeering and conspiracy. You're going to have, well, let's start on the inner circle. You're going to have former bodyguards. You're going to possibly have former musicians that he was with. You've got personal assistants that are going to be, they're already talking about.
I heard some shit that not allegedly that he was on suicide watch, allegedly. So I don't know, man. He probably coming down off them drugs though, because they caught him in a hotel with drugs. He had the Molly with him. He was still Molly on his shit. He was still getting wild lit, you know what I mean? But shit, man, you never know. Because when you coming down off of them drugs, yo, your mental ain't right. You're going to like your full sober self. So your mental ain't right, bro. You know what I mean? It's just like if you notice like dudes who was fighting addiction and shit like that, like, or people in general, I shouldn't say dudes, but people in general who fight off addiction, like when they're coming off them drugs, they like really like depressed, bad anxiety. They have a lot of issues. So he may be thinking about it, but I don't think he would actually do it. For the simple fact is he has a chance to come home. He has an opportunity to actually come home because they have to prove some of the things that they are saying, especially arson. Like, prove the arson. They got to prove this shit. You know what I mean? We're going to see if they can prove all these charges. Because a lot of times they suspend a lot of that shit. They'll be like, yo, we'll suspend this, and we'll keep this and keep that. You know what I mean? So, but again, he's fighting trials, so we're gonna see. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that X. Yeah, they do. That's crazy, man. That nigga couldn't stop popping that X.
This, some of those are likely to be charged. And then guess what? If you've got some music moguls that are sending women over to these alleged freak-offs, then you've got some top people that are going to start crumbling too, because they're all part of what's called this criminal enterprise.
Fuck.
All right, Brian, always great to see you. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I'm
Brian.
Steve Ducey. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Let's look at this one too. Says P. Diddy's lawsuits named 8 celebrities. What about them?
It's a shocking fall from grace. In less than a year, P. Diddy went from beloved music icon to disgraced sexual predator, at least according to the charges from the feds. Right now, he's behind bars in New York, the same place where just last year, he was given a key to the city. It was a disturbing set of allegations that led to Diddy's arrest in the way of multiple civil suits brought by accusers. And in some of those suits, co-defendants are listed, and in others, celebrities. Could it be a time of reckoning for them too? We're taking a deep dive into all the celebrities listed in Diddy's civil lawsuits and whether they too could face federal charges. I'm Sierra Gillespie, and this is Law and Crime News. A groundbreaking case brought forth just this week when 54-year-old Sean Diddy Combs was arrested on September 15th. He now faces some pretty serious federal charges: racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Diddy was indicted by a federal grand jury and is now being held in Brooklyn at the Metropolitan Detention Center after he was twice denied bail. Diddy's attorneys say he was in New York for about a week before the arrest, anticipating the federal indictment. But he wasn't the only one who kind of saw this coming. After federal investigators raided 2 of Diddy's homes back in March, we kind of had an idea something was on the way. Just this week, we learned some of the items that investigators collected during those raids of Diddy's homes in both Miami and Los Angeles. According to the indictment against Diddy, investigators seized more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricants from his homes. The court doc states that these items were used in something referred to as freak-offs, which were elaborate
I've heard stories about that
performances that Combs arranged, directed, masturbated during, and often electronically recorded.
Facts. He looked wicked. He don't look like Diddy.
Diddy and his associates transported commercial sex workers over state lines and even internationally. Diddy then allegedly gave these sex workers and victims controlled substances, at times unbeknownst to the victims. Prosecutors say Diddy did this to keep the victims obedient and compliant. He then took videos of victims having sex with these sex workers, sometimes without their consent. After all this, both Diddy and the victims would receive IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion and drug use. Federal investigators say that during the raids of Diddy's homes, they collected some of these recordings showing the disturbing details of these freak-offs. And the feds had a heads up about these recordings, thanks to some of the civil lawsuits filed against Diddy, namely the one brought by Rodney Jones, also known as the producer Lil Rod. Lil Rod worked with Diddy on his Love album starting in 2022 and says he experienced months of abuse all at the hands of Diddy. In his lengthy civil suit, Lil Rod refers to these recordings saying, quote, Mr. Combs required Mr. Jones, that's Lil Rod, to record him constantly. Mr. Jones has secured hundreds of hours of footage and audio recordings of Mr. Combs, his staff, and his guests engaging in some serious illegal activity. Lil Rod's lawsuit also lays out some other pretty disturbing claims, like that Diddy sexually assaulted him and forced Lil Rod to have sex with a prostitute. But Lil Rod's lawsuit came out swinging in more ways than one. Not only did it shed light on the dark allegations against Diddy, but it dropped some high-profile celebrity names too. First, there's Academy Award-winning actor Cuba Gooding Jr. Lil Rod alleges Diddy was, quote, grooming him to pass him off to his friends. This fear became reality when Mr. Combs introduced Mr. Jones to Cuba Gooding Jr. while they were on Mr. Combs' yacht. The lawsuit includes pictures of this too, showing both Diddy with Cuba and then Cuba with his arms around Lil Rod. Court docs go on to say, quote, Cuba Gooding Jr. began touching, groping, and fondling Mr. Jones's legs.
Yo, what the fuck? Yo, what the fuck, dog? What the fuck? Yo, what the fuck? You see why I'm so like crazy about this shit? Yo, shout out to everybody that's in the chat, man. Shout out chat gang, man. Please make sure y'all subscribe, hit the like button, comment, and share. I can't even say my shit. What the Yo, this is crazy, bro. Like, what? Oh, man.
Upper inner thighs near his groin and the small of his back near his buttocks and his shoulders. He rejected his advances, and Mr. Gooding Jr. did not stop until Mr. Jones' yacht.
Look at his face.
If your company is trying to win work in the defense industry, then you already know getting compliant with DFARS, NIST, SP.
The lawsuit includes pictures of this too, showing both Diddy.
Yo, look at Cuba, son. He looking like, yo, what up, nigga? Yo, son, look at how he looking at this nigga. Yo, look how he looking at this nigga, son. This is crazy. This is wild, bro. Like, he looking at that nigga like yo, that fucking Damien from Friday shit, bro. Look at his face. He looking at him like, yeah, nigga. Yeah, nigga. This is crazy. This is wild. This is wicked, bro. This is wicked, bro. This is crazy. Like, look at his face, dog. I feel like Lil Rod looked like, yo, shit, what's going on, man? And then Cuba looking like, yeah, nigga. Yeah, nigga, I like him meaty, chunky. Yeah, this beat hot. That nigga, yo, son, this is crazy. Almost unbelievable if they didn't have pictures and videos. Yo, facts, yo, this shit is wicked, bro.
Diddy with Cuba, and then Cuba with his arms around Little Rod. Court docs go on to say, quote, Cuba Gooding Jr. began touching, groping, and fondling Mr. Jones's legs, his upper inner thighs near his groin, and the small of his back near his buttocks and his shoulders. He rejected his advances, and Mr. Gooding Jr. did not stop until Mr. Jones forcibly pushed him away. Here's former prosecutor Melba Pearson.
In the last couple of years, there were allegations against him for sexual assault. So now we had those prior allegations, and now we see him tied to this case as allegedly trying to, assault a Little Rod, assault others.
Back in 2019, Cuba was booked on misdemeanor charges of forcible touching and sexual abuse after allegedly groping a woman in Times Square. By the next year, 3 women had come forward accusing him of non-consensual sexual touching. He eventually reached a plea deal with prosecutors that required 6 months of counseling but no jail time. Just this summer, he appeared on Dan Abrams Live, where he discussed those charges.
You pleaded guilty to a forcible touching misdemeanor in 2022, eventually led to a guilty plea.
Wait, they put him on a TV show? Do y'all be seeing Cuba online now? Like, when you catch him out in the media, do y'all see what he be doing? He be wilding.
Charge. A year later, you settled a federal civil lawsuit, 2 more civil misconduct lawsuits. Can you understand why some would say, don't want to cast this guy?
Sure. But I can also understand some people who come up to me in the street all the time and yell, show me the money, and say, hang in there, and I see what you're going through. You make movies for an audience of people, right? So right now.
Wait a second. This ain't the Cuba I've been seeing, dog. Wait a minute, dog. What's going on? Oh, you know what? I'm gonna be the reasonable guy. You know what? I'm proud he got on this platform and sounded like he had some goddamn sense. Cause the past couple years when you see Cuba, he lit, he twisted, bit, out in public doing some wild shit.
I'm making a movie for faith-based people who are excited to renew our hope in humanity, especially the times we're in, dealing with politics and the world issues that are going on. So that's where I am now.
And have you expressed regret, sorrow, apologies for what happened previously?
Everything that happens in my life is for a reason. I believe that. And if I continue to walk on my path, whatever that is, I know at the end result, it'll be to make me stronger, to be a better person, to be a better father, and right now that's the moment I'm in.
Back to Melba. She says it's possible that charges could be brought against the actor.
I'm getting the feeling where there's smoke, there's fire.
Oh, shit. They about to get Cuba, y'all. That picture with Cuba was crazy.
Right? Because now we have 2 different instances where you're accused of the same type of behavior, years apart. I think there's something there. And I don't know that Cuba Gooding Jr. is going to escape from that one, because he already saw, definitely people moving away from him within Hollywood circles and other circles once those first sexual assault allegations came out. So at this point, I don't think he's going to get away with it a second time.
Is it possible that he could face charges based on these allegations that were brought forward by
Oh yeah,
Lil
you
Rod?
know he's singing.
It is possible as
he
well.
not living by no certain codes.
Again,
That
we've got the
nigga's
statute of limitations issue
like
to deal
a
with.
bud.
So depending on
Like
the
a
time frame of
bud.
when this happened is, again, the Adult Survivors Act, which was the vehicle where many of these lawsuits came out, many of these civil lawsuits, came out. There was a finite amount of time for those suits to be filed. The time frame is going to be very, very important. What witnesses come forward, because again, this may not be a situation where DNA may be at play. This may be more of a situation of, hey, yes, I was there and I recall, Cuba Gooding Jr., putting his hands on Lil Rod, or I recall certain aspects. So it's going to be a very witness intensive type of case. And the question is, will the witnesses be willing to come forward?
Another high profile name listed in Lil Rod's lawsuit is Jennifer Lopez.
From the standpoint of the names of the celebrities that were tied to this, the fact that Jennifer Lopez was tied to this back when she was involved in or party to a shooting at a nightclub when she was dating Diddy, and is now alleged to have brought the gun with her to the scene and gave it to Diddy, and that's how the shooting occurred.
Lil Rod's team brings up J-Lo when establishing Diddy's history, writing his quote, "Rico enterprise has existed for at least 20 years, dating back to the 1999 nightclub shooting in NYC, when Mr. Combs required his then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez to transport his illegal firearm into the NYC nightclub."
Oh, they
The court
talking.
docs also alleged Diddy forced his then-artist Shine to assume responsibility for the shooting of several individuals. The shooting happened on December 27th, 1999 at about 2:55 a.m. A fight broke out at a nightclub in New York City between Diddy, Jamal Barrow, who's known as the rapper Shine, and Matthew Allen, who went by the nickname Scar. Guns were drawn and 3 people were shot. No one suffered any life-threatening injuries, and the victims were not involved in the fight. J-Lo and Diddy fled from the scene in a car, but were later arrested and charged. J-Lo's charges were dropped, but the others stuck. Diddy was acquitted, but Shine was sentenced to 10 years in prison. He was released in 2009 and deported back to his home country of Belize. Lil Rod alleges it was Diddy who pulled the trigger, and Shine just took the fall for him. Because of this allegation, experts like former FBI agent Bobby Chacon say investigators could take a second look at the shooting. If there's a civil lawsuit that lays out this major allegation, what would it take to reopen an investigation into something that happened 25 years ago?
Well, it would take a different look at it. So in other words, he was acquitted on the state murder charges. Now, federal charges can be different. You can have RICO, you can have a continuing criminal enterprise, you can have the underlying acts, the predicate acts, if we used to call them when I worked RICO cases, a RICO predicate act could be something like that 1999 case, and you can use it as a predicate act. You can bring it up. When I worked cold cases of this type, sometimes with time, with the passage of time, people are intimidated.
He was already selling the mansions. Man, you ain't see in the media, he was already selling them. One of them was up for like 50 million. His California dream was up for like 50 million. He already selling them. He already like, yo, yeah, I need all my bread. I'm about to do this time. I got to be sitting lovely, and I got to pay my lawyers. All I need is lawyer money and book money. Take care of my family. They're going to have to downsize and keep this family shit going somehow.
They're not as threatened, and they get away from the person who was the threat, and they feel more forthcoming to testify or to give statements in lieu of testimony. But certainly, I think that that case is going to be part of it. In the aftermath of that, they have witnesses that say he bragged about intimidating witnesses, paying off jurors. Certainly when you have that kind of stuff, if you go back and you find that juror that was paid off, or jurors, multiple, that may
it's
have
gonna
been
make
paid
him look
off,
crazy.
certainly
He can't-
that gives you the impetus to
can't,
kind of
you know
come
what I
forward
mean?
and refresh.
They was watching
those
him
charges
anyway.
on a federal
It was
case.
too
So the
late. They
federal
was
cases
watching
will be
him.
a little different.
He knew
the
it.
charges are a little different, so it's not double
his
jeopardy.
lawyer put him on. He said, the lawyer said, yo, we knew they was watching
I
us.
think that
We knew
case
what
that
was
you
going
mentioned,
on.
that you cite,
know what
I
I'm saying?
think
That's
is
why we
certainly
was trying to keep
one
open
of the
line of
ones they're
communication
looking
with
to
them.
build into
So
a much bigger,
it
to
could be a
me,
lot
maybe a
easier
RICO
for
type
him when he
case.
just tried
We
to
also
self-defend.
know
We
that
didn't
federal
want them to make the
investigators
whole
have
scene and
spoken
lock
to
him up
other
type shit.
plaintiffs in
But
civil
they,
cases against
they did
Diddy
what they
to
did.
learn more about his personality and what he's like in relationships.
You know what nobody talks about when it comes to building a content creator business? That if you're not using a tool like Honeybook to stay organized.
That means J-Lo is someone the feds will want to talk to if they haven't already. It also means she could be called to testify against him.
And they
It's
amping this
possible.
shit. Y'all
It's
hear
absolutely
them
possible.
amping it?
If I was the prosecutor handling that case,
got
I
a buckle
absolutely would
forever,
list
like,
her, right?
get money.
But of course, we need to
I done went to
know
Bali,
whether or
bitch.
not she'd be
Like, fuck that
cooperative.
shit.
That, of course,
I'm going to
changes
Bali.
the strategy when it comes to trial. So you
Russell
may list
Simmons on these
someone
hoes.
as a
Like,
potential
I'm
witness.
going to
That does
Bali,
not
nigga.
mean
You
you're
gotta come
necessarily
see me
going
in
to call
Bali.
them. The question is whether or not their testimony is really going to help you. But there is a universe where she could testify against him in terms of, violence, in terms of his interactions with other artists, especially the folks that have been coming forward alleging that he has harmed them in some way or engaged in, human trafficking and sex trafficking. So was she aware of any of that going on? Did she see him with underage girls, or was she present for when some of those videos were taken that Little Rod included screenshots of those videos in his pleadings? So how much of that did she know? When did she know it? And what actions did she take at the time? Is that part of the reason why they broke up? We don't know. So all of this will remain to be seen. Obviously, the prosecution and law enforcement need to speak with her, get a statement from her to understand what she knows or what she could be able to testify
Diddy been
to,
on top of
and
his
then
game
make
for
appropriate
a
decisions
very
from
long
there.
time,
But
man.
it's not just artists that Lil Rod named either. He specifically mentioned Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, in court docs. It reads in part, quote, Mr. Combs was known for throwing the best parties. Affiliation with and or sponsorship of Mr. Combs' sex trafficking parties garner legitimacy and access to celebrities, such as famous athletes, political figures, artists, musicians, and international dignitaries like British royal Prince Harry. Why even name Prince Harry? There's no allegations against him or anything, but why bring him up?
I think it may have been a move to bring more credibility
crazy,
to the
son. This
filing
shit is
and
like a
say that,
movie,
basically he being Diddy, was using his fame, fortune, and influence to insulate himself. So he was able to legitimize some of the activities he was doing by having these lavish parties, bringing all these A-list celebrities, but somewhere in a back room or somewhere in another wing, horrible things were happening. So the fact that Prince Harry was there does not necessarily mean he was participating in what was happening. And just because you were at a party doesn't mean you know what's happening in every inch of the house.
Yeah,
I mean, if you think about
I mean,
if
he
the
ain't say
party's
nothing
being thrown in a
crazy though. He
mansion,
was just like
there are
that nigga there
various
too.
floors and wings.
He kind of
So it
was
is
like low key trying
completely
to throw it
possible
out
that
there.
he was there and did not
Imagine a
participate.
miniseries already
Now,
being
if you
cast.
had said Prince
Yo,
Andrew,
50
especially
Cent
as a
just
result
sold
of the allegations
the
that came out
documentary
in
on this shit to
connection with the
Netflix.
Epstein case, that they were
Like
close
Diddy
and that they
just
traveled
sold.
together, and
I mean,
there
50
was a
Cent. He
person that
just
alleged
sold the
that
rights
he had
to
had
he
sexually
executive
assaulted
produced
her
like
while she was underage.
a
That would
documentary,
be a
like the
different
fucking
story.
R. Kelly
But
shit.
Prince
He
Harry
did
and the
50
way that
Cent
it
did
was
some shit like
mentioned
that and
seemed
sold
to
it
be
to
very,
Netflix.
again,
So
just
we
sort
about
of
to be
trying to
seeing
bring
some shit
legitimacy and
with
talk about
Netflix.
these were the
And
people
Freddie P
that
confirmed it. I
Diddy
just watched the
surrounded
Freddie
himself
P
by to
from
protect
making a
himself.
band. Freddie P
Prince
from
Harry
making a
has
band, the
no
one that
criminal
fought
charges
Enes.
or even any accusations of
I
illegal
just seen his
activity,
interview
but
and he
he
said,
could
"Yo,
still see
a
the inside of
Netflix
a
series about to
courtroom
come
in a
out.
defamation case.
A
It's
rapper is doing a
possible
Netflix
that
series. I
Prince
don't want to
Harry may
ruin it or
be
nothing,
able
but
to preserve his reputation. And since it was such a minuscule mention in the greater context of this filing, he may be okay.
Another celebrity mentioned in Lil Rod's lawsuit is Young Miami, who dated Diddy from 2021 to 2023. According to the lawsuit, Young Miami's cousin assaulted Lil Rod during the Thanksgiving holiday in 2022. It reads, quote, Young Miami's cousin burst into the bathroom and began groping Mr. Jones. She started undressing and attempted to straddle him and have sex with him in the presence of Mr. Combs and his staff. Similar to Prince Harry, there are no allegations against young Miami herself, so there's probably no worry of charges being filed against her. But there could be charges against Rod during the Thanksgiving holiday in 2022. It reads, quote, young Miami's cousin burst into the bathroom and began groping Mr. Jones. She started undressing and attempted to straddle him and have sex with him in the presence of Mr. Combs and his staff. Similar to Prince Harry, there are no allegations against young Miami herself, so there's probably no worry of charges being filed against her. But there could be charges against some of the other people listed in Lil Rod's lawsuit. That's people like Diddy's chief of staff, Christina Coram, who Lil Rod compares to Ghislaine Maxwell, the longtime companion of Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein died by suicide in 2019 when he faced numerous charges of sexual assault over the course of multiple years. Maxwell was charged and found guilty of sex trafficking in relation to her time with Epstein, and she's currently serving a lengthy prison sentence. Lil Rod says Christina Coram ordered sex workers and prostitutes for Mr. Combs and ordered and distributed ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine.
Man, fuck! This shit crazy.
Marijuana and mushrooms to Mr. Combs and his celebrity guests who were present on his rented yacht and his homes in LA, NYC, and Miami. This is referenced in Diddy's indictment too, saying members and associates of the Combs enterprise, including high-ranking supervisors, security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and other Combs business employees, facilitated the freak-offs by, among other things, booking hotel rooms for the freak-offs, stocking the hotel rooms in advance with the required freak-off supplies, including controlled substances, baby oil, lubricant, extra linens, and lighting. Federal prosecutors also allege these associates arranged travel for victims and commercial sex workers, delivered large sums of cash to Diddy to pay these sex workers, and even scheduled the delivery of IV fluids. So according to Melba, it's possible some of these associates are charged too.
None of these cases, when you have these high-profile people that have been using people over years, none of these cases happen without a handler. R. Kelly had a handler. Epstein had a handler. Weinstein had a handler. Everybody has, in those scenarios of those powerful people, powerful men that are abusing other people, they have someone that does their dirty work. And it's usually not only just one person, it's several people who may have different duties. So again, seeing this woman being his handler, being the person to get him drugs, being the person to procure sex workers for him, being the person to basically be on cleanup duty in case of, covering up or silencing people that might want to come forward, that's not unusual. And she is also going to bear the brunt of criminal liability, just like Ghislaine Maxwell did, and basically had to take the entire brunt of the criminal justice system alone because of the fact that, Epstein committed suicide and was not able to be held accountable.
I don't think Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. I'm sorry. I don't think that nigga committed suicide, bro. Like he had some real deep insight on some shit. But just my opinion. He knew some people, like some different kind of people Diddy ain't touching. I'm just saying.
We can't talk about Diddy without mentioning Cassie, the one whose lawsuit blew the lid off Diddy's alleged scheme. She filed civil suit against Diddy last November under the New York Survivor Act, meaning any sexual assault survivor could file suit against their accused predator, and the statute of limitations didn't matter. Cassie's lawsuit was settled just one day after it was filed, but it was still made public, dropping a laundry list of bombshells about Diddy that the public hadn't previously heard. Cassie's lawsuit outlined years of abuse by Diddy, starting when she was just 19 years old, and at the time, he was 37. According to her suit, Diddy was prone to uncontrollable rage and frequently beat Cassie savagely. Cassie alleged Diddy forced her to use drugs and would physically beat her, rape her, or force her to have sex with prostitutes. Then there's the gun allegation that on at least 2 occasions, Diddy demanded Cassie hold his gun in her purse. The lawsuit goes on to state, quote, there was no clear reason why Mr. Combs required her to hold his guns, except to reinforce to his young girlfriend that he was violent, powerful, and dangerous. This echoes a similar allegation made by Lil Rod about Jennifer Lopez's part in the 1999 New York nightclub shooting.
Not only
Facts.
did
They
Jennifer
call him a
Lopez
bad boy for
allegedly
nothing.
bring the gun to the club, now we're also looking at years later, Cassie coming forward and saying that Diddy forced her to carry a gun with her when they went out to different events. So again, I think that this is more along the lines of when you look at this from a domestic violence lens, from the standpoint of the abuser being very controlling and demanding certain activities to prove loyalty, to basically put yourself in a bad situation where only he can be the one to save you, basically. So in seeing that, the parallels between J-Lo's experience and Cassie's experience, number one, it brings more credibility to what Cassie said in her pleadings. But also, again, it causes us to look at Jennifer Lopez and be like, some of the comments she made about the end of her relationship to Diddy, in terms of, well, there was infidelity, and, she kind of skirted the issue a bit. But when you start to look back at her comments, you start to think, ooh, were you in a domestic violence relationship with Diddy, much like how Cassie ended up in a domestic violence relationship with him?
Cassie kind of broke the floodgates, so to speak, when she made her civil suit back in November.
Well, with Jennifer Lopez, she probably just was like, nah, man, this nigga is just
and then all of a sudden we have several more
she
people
probably
coming
did
forward,
see some
and then
shit.
more once it turns to 2024. So we have multiple plaintiffs who are coming forward alleging very similar things. I'm wondering, without these civil suits, would we even be here right now? Would Diddy even have been arrested and indicted?
I really don't think so. Because Cassie's lawsuit opened the floodgates, and I think it empowered other survivors to come forward and tell their story. And when Little Rod came forward, I think that was just another huge, just a huge moment in this case, because now you have male victims coming forward, and we know statistically male victims of sexual assault generally don't.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Frieder, and I'm here with On Call Compliance Solutions. And today,
report for a number of reasons, but they many times view it as an attack on their masculinity, and they're very concerned about how they would be viewed publicly. And Little Rod was brave, which I really commend his bravery in standing up and saying, listen, this is what happened to me. And that empowered more and more folks to come forward, including most recently Danity Kane, one of the members of Danity Kane, stating that he had abused her and she had witnessed the abuse he had levied on others. So I think that all of these voices coming forward and saying, listen, there's something here, the feds took notice.
It's a wrap.
And even though they may not have been public about it at first, we knew obviously when they searched the houses, we knew that this was getting very serious, but they were monitoring this the minute that Cassie filed her lawsuit. And when they read those allegations, I can assure you that investigation started immediately. And then as more and more survivors came forward, again, the feds would be going and interviewing each of those people, seeing what evidence they have. So, for instance, do they have maybe some cell phone footage, or can they substantiate what occurred to them in other ways, maybe follow-up text messages, emails? All of these things are aspects that the feds are able to use to now bring in their case in chief against P. Diddy.
Months ago, we reported that Cassie was working with federal investigators in the case against Diddy. We can't know for sure whether she testified in the grand jury hearing that would ultimately indict Diddy, but it's likely at least some of his accusers did.
I do believe that a number of the survivors would have testified. I don't think that they would have brought all of them because of the fact that, number one, testifying is traumatizing, especially when you're talking about the most awful day likely of your life and some very degrading things that happen to you. And you have to tell that to a bunch of people you don't know. Mm-hmm. So you have to be very cautious in when and how you bring your victims and your survivors to testify, think about that in terms of your strategy. Because again, you may want to save some of the survivors for the actual trial if this does go to trial, and maybe just pick one or two that make the point, right? And then you can fill it in with more evidence as the trial proceeds. But you don't necessarily have to show all of your evidence to the grand jury. You just pick the strongest pieces of evidence so that, again, you're not burning your survivors out before they get to the point of trial unnecessarily. Obviously, they do have to testify and tell their story so that the jury has something to deliberate on. But at the same token, you don't want to push them too much because, again, that trauma is very real. And even if they are getting assistance through counseling or something along those lines,
all it took was one day from them.
To have to talk
what you
about
say,
it, especially
being on
in
top
such
to being in the tune, dog.
with the huge media frenzy around it, and so many people weighing in, and whether it be social media or other celebrities or things like that. So those are some of the things I think the assistant U.S. attorney would have been
probably a lot of
considering
people just
when deciding who should be brought in front of the grand jury to testify.
If you haven't noticed, some of the celebrities been like stepping down as CEOs and shit. Like, well, not celebrities, but some of the like executives been stepping down as CEOs, bro. They've been stepping down. I don't believe all of them are tied into this like Diddy situation. Maybe some though. Maybe some. You gotta pay attention to who and when and where. It's important.
And when it comes time for trial, we could expect to hear from Cassie or other accusers in federal court. You're bringing up a really good point because, as you said, this is probably one of the darkest times of these survivors' lives. And they have to come forward with these serious allegations and relive the trauma that I'm sure they've been working to overcome. It's really tough, but we're assuming that a lot of them are going to testify at the trial whenever that may be. And there are several accusers that have to go through and do all of that. What would it look like at the trial then?
At the trial, now the key is the U.S. Attorney's Office has to make sure that they're not going too far afield with bad character evidence. We saw how that kind of backfired in the Harvey Weinstein case, where, as well as the Bill Cosby case, where other instances were brought in that were maybe not as close in time, or more so not really enlightening the jury about what happened in the charges that were in the indictment, but more so he's just a really bad, horrible, predatory person. That may be the truth. However, when it comes to proving the charges at hand, you have to be very focused on making sure the jury understands what happened during the time frames that are specified in the indictment. And so if some of these other survivors, let's say something happened 10 years ago, that might be too far in time for them to be able to testify. But if we're talking about an instance of something that happened last year, for instance, that might be closer in time to allow them to be able to testify. And again, if they have specific knowledge about certain aspects of the indictment, of course, they'll be brought to testify. But again, you have to be very cautious because you want to be able to preserve, if you're able to get a conviction, you want to be able to preserve it on appeal by not making these types of errors.
After his indictment this week, Diddy pleaded not guilty to all charges and was denied bond twice. A statement from his legal team reads, quote, Sean Diddy Combs is a music icon, self-made entrepreneur, loving family man, and proven philanthropist who has spent the last 30 years building an empire, adoring his children, and working to uplift the Black community. He is an imperfect person, but is not criminal. To his credit, Mr. Combs has been nothing but cooperative with this investigation, and he voluntarily relocated to New York last week in anticipation of these charges. Please reserve your judgment until you have all the facts. These are the acts of an innocent man with nothing to hide, and he looks forward to clearing his name in court. More updates are sure to come.
Hold on, bro said that. He ain't do nothing with the Cassie situation. Remember that? He said that. And then that video came out. Wicked. Crazy. Okay, we just going to catch the football game. Hey, yo, Charles, I appreciate you sliding through. Much love, King. Appreciate you vibing out, man. We just, you know what we do, man. We tapping into what's going on. This is wicked, man. The Diddy Files is crazy, man. Have a good night, King, man. Hope your team win.
In the case of United States versus Sean Diddy Combs. So
and that's crazy, man. That's the end of that, bro. Wow, bro. Wow. That's crazy, man. That is really, really crazy. Really, really crazy, man. And I always said it, man. Like I always said, man, Diddy was a polarizing figure in the black community, man. It's really, really sad to see things go like how they're going right now for him. Because, you know, at the end of the day, you know what I mean, he's done a lot of good, you know what I'm saying? But again, from what people are saying allegedly, he's done some wild shit. Some wild shit. That Cuba Gooding shit, that Cuba Gooding shit just fucked me up. like, hold on, where's it at? I gotta show that shit again, bro. That shit was wicked. That shit was wicked. Hold up. Where that shit go? Oh my God. I can't find that shit. Where'd it go? Yo, what the fuck? I can't find it, man. But they had this nigga Cuba Gooding looking wicked. Looking wicked. Hold up. How can I find that shit?
Engaging in some serious illegal activity. Lil Rod's lawsuit also lays out some other
see
pretty
if we can
disturbing
find it real
claims,
quick.
like that Diddy sexually assaulted him and forced Lil Rod to have sex with a prostitute. But Lil Rod's lawsuit came out swinging in more ways than one. Not only did it shed light on the dark allegations against Diddy, but it dropped some high-profile celebrity names too. First, there's Academy Award-winning actor Cuba Gooding Jr. Lil Rod alleges Diddy was, quote, grooming him to pass him off to his friends. This fear became reality when Mr. Combs introduced Mr. Jones to Cuba Gooding Jr. while they were on Mr. Combs' yacht. The lawsuit includes pictures of this too, showing both Diddy with Cuba and then Cuba with his arms around.
Yo, look at this, son. This shit look crazy. Look at my son Cuba face. What the fuck, bro? But listen to this. Listen to what happened. Listen to what he said.
Around Little Rod. Court docs go on to say, quote, Cuba Gooding Jr. began touching, groping, and fondling Mr. Jones's legs, his upper inner thighs near his groin, and the small of his back near his buttocks and his
Protect your wealth by spending
hold
physical
on. What
gold,
the fuck?
not paper money that grows weaker by the second.
shoulders. He rejected his advances, and Mr. Gooding Jr. did not stop until Mr. Jones forcibly pushed him away.
What the fuck? This is wild. And the way he looking, look, that's what I'm saying, bro. Look at how this nigga was.
Here's former prosecutor his groin, and the pictures of this too, showing both Diddy.
Look at how he was looking at him. Yo, what the fuck? Yo, what the fuck? Yo, this is not real, dog. This is not real. Look at Cuba, son. And then what they said he was doing after that, he was groping on him, grabbing his leg, touching his buttocks and groin area. Like, yo, what? Yo, this is wild. Then listen to what they said he was doing, though. Listen.
With Cuba, and then Cuba with his arms around Little Rod. Court docs go on to say, quote, Cuba Gooding Jr. began touching, groping, and fondling Mr. Jones's legs, his upper inner thighs near his groin, and the small of his back near his buttocks and his shoulders. He rejected his advances, and Mr. Gooding Jr. did not stop until Mr. Jones forcibly pushed him away.
Yo, you a grown man. What you mean? Like, I mean, like, if another man is touching on you, like he's touching on you, like in a way that you uncomfortable, you're not going to defend yourself. Like, I feel like that's an assault right there. So you got every right to defend yourself. Boop, 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 boop. Tighten them up. Like, yo, what you, boop, 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 boop. Like, yo, what's up with you, fam? Like, why are you touching on me? Like, what's up? Like, that's assault. Like that you need to get washed up for that. Why you ain't washed Cuba up?
Here's former prosecutor Melba Pearson.
In the last couple of years, there were allegations against him for sexual assault. So now we have those prior allegations, and now we see him tied to this case as allegedly trying to, assault a little lad, assault others.
Back in 2019, Cuba was booked on misdemeanor charges of forcible touching and sexual abuse.
Yo, this is wild, bro. Hey, man, listen. I'm hurt by these allegations about Diddy, man. Diddy was, like I said, Diddy is a polarizing figure in the black community, and it's so sad to see the situation go out like this. It's really, really sad to see it this way, man. Now, I don't want people discrediting his part as in the culture, but who he is personally as a person, if it is true, I'm not just already debunking him. Keyword, if it is true, I hope, justice is served. And if it isn't true, same thing. I hope justice is served. It shouldn't be a one-sided thing, but, some of these allegations is wild. These shits is crazy. Crazy, man. Shout out to everybody that came to the stream, man. Please make sure y'all subscribe, like, comment, and share. Hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of these videos. I will be live every day, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, during the evening and during the day. You might catch me like mid-afternoon, 12, 1 o'clock. So please, of course, make sure y'all subscribe, tap in. Don't forget to donate to the Cash App. The Cash App is VATIO. That is money sign V as in Victor, ATIO. It's a blue check next to my name. Make sure y'all show love. If not, hit me with a super chat. Y'all know how we do this. In the meantime, between time, when you see mine, y'all know my slogan. If you don't grind, you don't eat. I'm out of here.